Hi, welcome to Reboot TV. Today I'm your host, Stephen A. Jakes. To my right I have co-founder of the Reboot programme, Mr. Gregory J. Baker.
Hello.
And to my left I have an amazing gentleman, Vernon Harris. Good afternoon, Vernon.
Good afternoon.
Obviously it's not quite as nice as it was yesterday, it's a shame, but we're here today in the Reboot studios of our gardens, and so thank you for joining us. And so today we're going to talk to Vernon about his journey of personal development and how he got involved in the Reboot programme, and also how that's been able to help him with his life journey and where it's taken him. And also we're going to touch on some of the experiences he went through the Reboot process. So obviously we'll start at the beginning. So first of all, obviously you needed to have met Greg. So let's we'll go there first. How did you get to meet Greg and hear about the Reboot program?
I never forget this myself.
That's quite an interesting situation, because I was actually on my way to a networking event in a car park, wondering where the entrance was to get into this place. Yeah. And up came this other young man, and he was in the same sort of thing. We managed to find our way in. We had a bit of a conversation, but we didn't really talk about what we both did as such to that extent until we actually got in the meeting and the meeting got going. Well, I'd been looking for, because I've been going through a process of change anyway, and I knew that I needed to do something to get rid of certain things in my life which wasn't working for me. And
how long have you been sort of looking for doing this work?
Well, I've been working on myself since going back to like 1985, and it's
1985. Yeah.
It's a continuous program of actually looking, shifting, changes, and each point you'll move from one level to another. But I'd reached a point where I wanted to make a massive transformation in my life, so I was actually looking for something specific to trigger that transformation.
Yeah.
And that's when Greg came into my life. We was all explaining what we did, and it was like, he said what he did, and it was like this, that light bulb moment.
Yeah.
I need to speak to you.
That's exactly how you did it.
I need to speak to you. That was it. And we sat down, we met up, we talked, and I didn't even have to think about doing the training.
It was unusual, actually.
It was, as he said it, I said, yep, I can do it. When can we get started? And it was like,
So you'd immediately, just by hearing what Greg had said, you stood up and said, "Hi, I'm Greg," and did your bit. So immediately you just said, "That's it.
I had to do
I'm doing it."
There was no hesitation, no nothing whatsoever. I knew I had to go through this training for myself and for everyone around me, and that's how it all started.
I was just
go on.
Can I say my opinion? So when I first met you, I could see that day. I don't know whether this was typical of you, but there was a frustration and there was an anger in you, and there was and there was almost an impatience about you, right? I'm just as an observation. And I knew you were fascinating, and I knew you've got a wealth of knowledge. You just knew it when I met you, and it was just as we were going round, there was a shift in you. Just when I'd finished saying, I could see it all changed. It was like there was a comfort and the impatience. There was a different impatience. There was kind of a positive impatience. Yeah. It was gone from this frustration impatience to an excited impatience.
Yeah.
Which is what?
Yeah, I mean, having just listened to what Vernon said and just listening to what you just said, you said that obviously there was a bit of anger and a bit of a bit of stuff in there, and he knew all of this stuff. And does that sound familiar to someone else who's sitting quite close to you as well? So I'm trying to say something, because I was in a very similar position where I was just really frustrated, and we'll go, if you go and listen to my interview and you'll understand why, but I've just seen a similar pattern really of like, and having just spoken to you off screen, if we want to call it that, we've got quite similar things going on. So it's very interesting. So that's how you, was it anything else you wanted to add there, really?
No, what was amazing was the again, actually, you thinking about it, I've just thought about it, the process, because you and I met on the Sunday, didn't we?
Yeah.
And then it was like the Monday, and it was almost the same. You were like, look, cut the crap.
Yeah. Get on with it.
And that was exactly what
it was none of this group stuff. I want you on me. This is me now.
Yeah.
And it was really, what was really powerful was, not to talk too fluffy, but your self-love just shot up, because it was like, I don't. It's not that you don't care about anybody else, but for once, because for those that you know Vernon, there's a lot of people that do. Vernon is very giving, and it's all about everybody else. I've been at a lot of networking events for years, and you mentioned Vernon, and people go, "Oh, Vernon! Oh, my daughter. He helped my and you think, "Wow, this guy's like, he's kind of famous without being famous." And it's all about other people. Sorry,
no, that's nice, man. That's a nice compliment. Yeah, it's lovely. Yeah,
that's what's happened. But what happened here was it was all about yourself, about helping you, and it was so rapid. And I've got to share this. When so there's 3 stages to the program. You've got the first bit, which is called Insights, which is a webinar, 2 hours, and we can talk a little bit about that at the end. The second bit is live, which is like a workshop, and it's a full day. Anyway, after you did a private session with me, the first 2 hours, and I just remember you. I don't know if I say which one. I think it was the live where you said, right, when do you want to? When we'll say, yeah, I'll do it. I didn't even know he wanted to do it. And anyway, I thought he was looking at his phone to book the time. And he goes, right, done it. I went, oh, okay, what when? He goes, oh, no, I've just paid you. And I was like, pardon? And I was like, this man is committed to his own personal and self-development. Yeah. And I didn't have anything to say, which is rare for me.
It's rare.
Nods all round.
Yeah.
That was all I wanted to say. So it was, once you knew sort of thing, and that was quite powerful.
So obviously Greg just touched it. So there is 3 stages to this whole program. There's the Insights, there's the live, and there's also the Genesis, the big one at the end.
4 days.
And the 4 days program. And so what was your whereabouts were you
in my life?
Yeah, up to that point, up before you really committed to it. I mean,
I was actually quite frustrated about my life, because I knew I had all this going for me, but I just didn't know where to direct it. It was all, and I just needed some kind of clarity. I knew there were blockages, but I didn't quite know where they were or why. I would go 1 step, 2 step forward and take 1 step back, or more even.
Yeah.
So I was, throughout my life, I've been in the process of
doing the dance,
backwards and forward, and I just want, and going through this process didn't completely stop it all, but it's just shifted it to a different to a different level at this present moment. And so it was one of the best things I ever did.
Yeah, well, that's good. I mean, that's a nice compliment to pay, and for me personally as well, it's probably the most significant thing I've ever done in my life, in terms of doing something for myself. I've had children, and I've had quite a lot of successes in my life, but this for me has been the most significant. So I sort of echo that. And so leading up to, because obviously you're a hypnotherapist as well, that's what you do. So obviously you must have a great understanding of the human mind anyway. And so was there any doubts coming into it that you thought, hang on a minute, this is, no. Is this, you actually was totally,
no.
Did that help?
As soon as I actually heard it, my mind, everything just went, says, got to do it. Forget everything else, and I was going to find the money no matter what.
Yeah. I mean,
it was that kind of a feeling. It was every now and again you get those moments where there is no doubt, there is no hesitation about what you do. There's no questioning it on any level. You just do it, and that was what this was for me.
Yeah, funny enough, I can similarly. I'm smiling because I sort of went exactly with me. I was like. I mean, for me, mine was really a case of I didn't really have much choice. It was either that or potentially I was going to end my life. But I just knew it. You know what I mean? I'd spoken to someone else that had done it, and they basically said, in not so many certain terms, that this will change your life. You'll just be sort of reborn from that point. And so I sort of went with it, and it's sort of similar sort of.
Actually, what I like is the name they're now using, Reboot.
Reboot.
It's inspired by your testimonial from last year.
Oh, was it really?
Yes, I did a testimonial, and because going through the process, especially the third part of it, and all the other bits, but the third part is substantial, and it is draining. I'm not going to say it isn't, because you have got to shift a lot of your belief patterns, your thought patterns, and it takes you back. Mine went back even before I was born.
Yeah.
And that is where probably my most significant breakthrough came for me was to realize that you can, even before you come into this world, be put in a negative downward spin by your parents without them actually even realizing it.
So what you're saying is that genetically, if you've got a mother that's going through fear throughout her pregnancy, that actually can be programmed into you before you're even born, and you will end up being a fearful.
It was actually before that.
Yeah. Mine went back a little bit before that, because whatever was going on, I don't know, but it created a feeling in me where I felt unwanted. Yeah. And there was this unloved feeling, but I didn't know where it was coming from. I didn't understand where it was.
I'll never forget the moment that we.
I mean, you've got to say that's a really powerful thing, because most of us, when we go through our life, we boil it down to what we've really experienced and what we've actually physically experienced or mentally experienced in our current understanding of life. And so, what you're really saying is that some of our issues that we have in our life goes before you've actually even had that, and so that's quite a powerful. It's quite a powerful thing for anybody watching it. I mean, so that might screw some people's heads up now, because they're going, what the hell's he going on about? Oh, it's crazy. But I mean,
that was my understanding. Yeah. I don't know about anyone else, but from my therapy experience as well, I know that we can be screwed up. Yeah. Through the birth and even before, because whatever the parents are going through, it doesn't disappear. Because they may have solved it. The energy is still there, and that's what happened to me.
So one of the things I just want to add for the viewers of this interview is that that in what happens in the program is we uncover things that are almost undiscoverable, the things you can't see. So whilst Vernon for 35 years or whatever has been working on himself and other people, he gets to see in others what they can't see. This is what this program saw in him, because he's tooled up. I mean, this man is tooled up, right? So I can appreciate his frustration, because when you're tooled up, when you're the same,
and I was the same. I was
you're so tooled up, and yet you can't see that one thing that's missing. And what we're able to do through the process, and it is a process, whilst very uncomfortable, what happens is all of a sudden things uncover that weren't. They're always there, but you couldn't see them. In fact, you're probably wood for the trees, and you're wood for the trees, but I'm not. Yeah. Or the people that are involved in the team helping you aren't. And so and because it's a safe environment, things come up, and then all of a sudden my thing's all about context. So I was able to, oh my God, this happened before you were born, and then that's what happened. Yeah. And then what happens is I present the information. I'm not right or wrong, but you as the client, or you in this case Vernon, have a sense that it's right. That totally makes sense. And then if I'm right, you weaved connections throughout all your past in that moment. You were like, that's why that happened, that's why that happened, that's why it happened. So it's not that I'm right or wrong, it's just it has a sense that it's right. So it's you that ratifies and clarifies and confirms what we discover, not us. Yes. So it's you that make that decision. I just thought I'd make that distinction.
I think it's really powerful. Now, we haven't really touched on it in such detail in the other interviews, fundamentally, because really you've been doing the interviews, but today it's allowed you to have that freedom. Yes. And I think that's a really very, very powerful thing, that it is us that ultimately undoes all of the shit that we've done, if you know what I mean, which makes sense.
To be honest, I was able to put to bed those deep feelings around my mom, my dad, around my second wife. Yeah. But actually, at one point, I think there was something where I was actually looking at doing something, and the one that involved my second partner or second wife, I just sort of like falling over. So let's say I threw it in the bin. It was non-existent.
I've never seen that. That was incredible. Yeah. I've got a high five that moment.
It was literally non-existent. It didn't really resonate in any aspect of my life. I knew why I was with that person. I also knew why I was with my first wife. Yeah. But the ones that was relevant in my life was fine. I dealt with those, and that's no problem. But this one wasn't relevant, so I put her out there. Yeah. It was as simple as that. And at the end of the day, I've come to terms with a lot of things to do with my mom, my dad. God bless him, he's not here anymore. But everything that they've done, they did because I needed to go through this process. Yes. And in going through this process, I had to come to a realization that what they gave me was what I required for my growth.
Yes.
And
Wow.
when we understand that,
yes,
that we're not here at the mercy of other people,
yes,
but to learn and develop and become aware of our true nature
yes,
and our true self. I think that's what this did for me. It doesn't mean to say that all the problems have gone away. It just means I'm much more, even more attuned and aware
awareness, yeah,
of what I need to look at when the conscious mind still sticks in there, because it's a bugger.
Yeah.
It's been with me for a lot of time, and it doesn't
learn a lot of shit as well.
It doesn't want to lose the control, and therefore every now and again it keeps nudging to get its control back. So we have to be vigilant, and I'm aware of that now.
Yeah.
It recently actually put me through a situation where I was financially okay, and then it screwed it all up.
Yeah.
I allowed it to, because I wasn't consciously aware at that point in time. But at that point, it's now the beginning of this year, I made a massive decision to shift certain things, and it's taken me near enough 6 months to get myself aware of what. But now things are starting to happen because my mind is become clear again, and it's a process, a continuous process of shift and changes. If we think that this is going to solve all our problems, it's not. It's going to give us the starting point, and it's just a matter of working.
Hence reboot.
And
hence
basically,
reboot,
actually, which, as I said, is a term.
Yeah.
Because that's what I felt like. I felt like somebody's taken my brains out, washed it, rinsed it, and shaking it all about, and then just put it back in there and go boom.
Yeah, so I can echo that entirely. That same thing for me. Yeah.
It was that sort of situation.
Yeah.
I felt like somebody just rebooted my brains. I came out of that event, and it was like I was in another world. It's in another space and time, and it was like, what the.
Anyway, it just happened to me. Yeah, I know.
But over the period of time, working with Greg, having those regular meetings afterwards, it was like having a computer reboot and then shifting things back into place in the right order and the right situation that you would do if you did that with a computer. Because sometimes when you reboot a computer, it chucks. Oh, what was it? On a computer they call it defragging.
Defragging.
Oh, right, yeah, so it's defragmenting.
Because our life is fragmented. We come in as a whole.
Great analogy.
Yeah.
And then through all of the traumas, the emotional upheaval, our energy get fragmented.
And it's not, can I just add, that no one's accepted on this. Everybody has this.
Yeah.
So
and it's true, it's on the process. Trauma on a level will fragment your life's force energy.
Yeah.
All the emotional imbalances, all the chemical crap that gets stuffed into us unravels our system.
That's a great analogy.
There are a number of other things that can be doing. Tai Chi will help you to rebalance. Or a lot of the martial arts.
You say
Tai Chi, and a lot of the martial arts form, meditation, all those things. But this was quite fundamental because I've wasn't never interested in meditation or in yoga and stuff like that. But meditation was I used to do. But this really got to a point and a core which I couldn't get through for myself.
Yeah. So if we go back to, you said, we went right back to right at the beginning, you said about personal development and doing all this stuff, because I think that, and about how our journey and what we do and what we go through, and you said your first wife and you knew why you were there, and then you knew why your parents were your parents because it was what you needed. And I think that society today, especially in the material world and the TV world, and the aspirations of being a pop star, film star, car this, car that, and
reality TV
and all the rest of it, is so detracting, or we've been so detracted away from actually thinking or believing that we're here to consume. Just open our mouth, drink, drugs, consume, sex, have cars, have houses, anything that's
toys,
any
TVs,
stuff. We've got to have it. And the better we are at having it, the more the better at life we are. So if you look at all these people, some people, because they've been able to acquire lots of things, they have a belief that they're more successful in life, and they come away from actually getting in touch with the whole development journey and actually thinking, hang on a minute, that's not what we're really here for, and it's more about for me, I mean, I've been there, and I'm now on the same as you. Now we're on the other side, and actually, something happens in our life. For me, I had I call it my 9/11. You know, everything just fell down on top of me. Everything, every single part of my life, but that was what really kick-started me and going down this whole personal development route. And so, and then your whole world opens up to realisation. And so,
let's actually go through it quickly, because when my first marriage went on the rocks, it took me about 6 months to analyse my marriage and analyse my fault, her fault, and what caused the relationship to split.
Yeah.
And at that point, and at that time I wasn't into the spiritual stuff then.
Yeah.
I realised that I had as much a 50% responsibility in that marriage breakup, even though my part of it was at the beginning of the marriage. Her part was at the end of the marriage, but it didn't mean to say that my part wasn't important, because it was a relevant factor in what her choices and decisions
And we're
were.
always 50-50 in a dynamic of two.
Yeah.
I wanted my children to have two parents, so the best thing was to be apart.
Yeah.
And that will work for me, and that it took me a lot of years to break down her animosity towards me, but it happened anyway.
I have a similar thing. I have a similar experience.
And my kids love me, and I love them.
Yeah.
And I would never. No, at the end of the day, that was But that was my first transformational change. Then I got into a second marriage not long after, and the reason for that is for my son.
Yeah.
He had to come through my wife and myself. And it's a strange story, because when I met this lady, I said, I ain't getting married. She says, in that case, I ain't having any children. And I said, in that case, you ain't definitely having any children, because I ain't getting married. A year later, I proposed to the woman.
Oh dear! Shoot your word then.
and not long after that, my son was born.
Oh wow!
So without that, he wouldn't have come into existence. So, and fun enough, I literally once he was in the womb, I realized, and I felt. Don't ask me how or why. I felt the marriage was at its end.
Yeah.
And I stuck with it for another 2 years until he was a year and about 6 months. And then we parted company. And to be honest, I have 5 lovely children. And I would never...
You wouldn't change it for the world?
I wouldn't change any of it. It's been painful. It's been an up and down challenge.
Yeah, that's quite tough.
You know what? I love the changes. But I've grown so much through it. Because I actually opened up myself spiritually on a level that I've helped a lot of people along the way, and you can't beat seeing the changes you can in transforming people's lives by maybe just a smile or a word, or just being there as a listening ear for someone when they're going through a tough time, and not being a judge as to whether what they did was wrong or right, because at the end of the day, we are the ones who create good and bad. The universe doesn't have anything it's all good.
Yeah.
We create good and bad here.
Yeah.
And that's my belief. I don't know if it's anybody else's, but we are the one who make judgment. God don't judge us. We judge ourselves. Yeah. And at the end of the day, if we judge ourselves bad, then we are bad.
Yes.
If we judge ourselves good, we're good.
Yeah.
It's about us.
I think we spoke in my coaching, didn't we? We talked about you, and when you said that in there about how it's, how rewarding it is when you're helping people develop and doing what you do, and I asked you the question that it might, that must be, how does it make you feel, and you also said at the same time, didn't you? Don't cry. You also said at the same time, it's like food for the soul. And
food and
nurture of your own soul, because it's so unselfish to dedicate your time and your energy, your knowledge, your learnings, and your beliefs. Even the beliefs, really, it's probably the wrong word, but the stuff that you have that you acquire along your journey to be able to pass it on to other people.
My journey is, I'm here to help other people find themselves,
Yeah.
their true self.
Yeah.
Not the self that the ego has created, but
Yeah.
your true self, the self that you were before you
mad,
came
isn't
here.
it?
And
Are you sure we're not related? 'Cause you're exactly,
We're all related.
Exactly the
Well,
same.
we are.
Yeah,
we are
it's so
interrelated.
incredible.
And
Like,
I believe that no one comes into your life unless they're part of your soul energy anyway.
yeah,
So everyone you meet, even someone who just say hello to you, I guarantee you, there's some part of you. I believe there's a soul cell or soul energy bank that we all belong to. And we we connect through different environment, but we're all connected. I am not going to meet anyone on this earth plane who's not part of my soul energy.
yeah, and that's all basically about vibration, energy vibration, isn't it? And when you sort of look into the, so probably few people don't realise this, but when you start looking into the energy stuff, the energy work, and you actually start understanding the energy construct, and it sort of untangles a lot and makes things a lot more clearer if you put aside all of the, you know, the
illusion,
and all of
this
the religious construct of how, or not even but you know what I mean, that the stuff that we're told how it is. And when you actually look at I wouldn't say more esoteric, but more on a more of an energetic level, then it explains it a lot more.
We have to look back at the as the Jung calls it the collective unconscious. And if you realize that going back and you look at the way people lived and the way it was very.
I think Carl Jung. Just know, Carl Jung was a Swiss
he's
psychologist.
Psychologist.
Yeah.
He was also a friend of Freud.
Yeah.
As well. But when you actually look at the fact that they lived in a very macho, masculine era, and in those times it was about the strongest and the fittest.
Yeah.
And therefore, their energy of God was on that same vein.
Yeah.
And right now, all of the aspects of God is actually being made around those energy.
Yeah.
And it's become part of the collective unconscious.
Yeah.
And that's why we're now struggling. And so many people are saying, enough's enough. Because people now realize that there's more to them than just this concept. And that's my belief. It don't have to be anybody else's. But that is my belief, and I live by that belief.
So, just to get in the context, and sort of not the antithesis of this, but almost, is that what we do here is help you be you, right? Because the world tells you what to do. We get the TV, radio, everything, even your mates, and you'll do it to them. You'll tell them how to be. What we help you be is we're more here to help you just. So I'm going to use a phrase now, which is having a sense of something, right? So we don't believe in right or wrong at Reboot, okay? We believe in a sense. And so what will happen is, let's say you do the webinar, it's really eye-opening, and what you'll find is there'll be you'll get that there's a sense that, oh God, that feels right. That feels right. So as it's actually quite uncomfortable, right?
What it will do is it'll challenge your common beliefs
your
now that you're currently running.
Correct. And so what will happen is you'll go, oh.
Yeah.
So we get a lot of people do the webinar or what was the seminar that may not come back because they're not ready.
They'll get scared, they'll run off.
But they won't challenge anything.
Yes, that's right.
They go quiet. So what happens is we get a lot of people. The last two big seminars we did, we had quite a lot of people. It just went. There was the last big one we did in November. Everyone stayed silent for 20 minutes at the end. It was the most bizarre thing. No one challenged it because what it was, they were just like
processing.
They were processing, going, "You've got a point. Didn't realise any of this. We weren't necessarily ready for this."
Yeah.
But the point is that you'll make that decision. You'll go. That's the sense. It's not like we're not trying to preach to you. We're not trying to tell you what's right or wrong. We're not trying to tell you. What we're doing is we're sharing information.
And then you interpret that. Do you get to interpret that on the way that it fits your life and your beliefs and who you really are?
And so this is kind of the opposite of everything we get taught. So this is the opposite of a lot of TED Talks and a lot of YouTube stuff, because it's actually saying, do you know what do you feel about this? How do you feel? Does this have a sense that it feels right to you? Does that make sense?
I'm actually that is quite fascinating because I'm listening to a YouTube book and it is exactly on that basis.
Yeah.
And we live from our five senses.
Yeah.
But we're only living from our five senses to the level that we've been told that it's capable of.
Yeah.
And also as well, our five senses that interact with the external.
And that's what I was getting at, because our sense is much more, it's at a higher level. If you go past that, you then start to see other energy levels, which at present moment most of us are not seeing, because we're stuck in the logic.
Yes.
And once we get out of the logic,
sorry, it's just
it's so right.
It's getting out of that
they
logic
know I wanted
phase.
you to meet Vernon.
Sorry.
It's getting out of that logic phase, and this is why I'm now pushing the thing about people understanding the conscious, the unconscious, and the brain, and the difference between them, and how much, what affects what in people's life. So I'm very much into that.
Yeah, it's like well, that's very similar to the three principles, isn't it? With Sydney Banks, with the mind, the consciousness, and thought. And so it's a very similar thing.
This has been growing, as I said, since about 1980s is when it started to come to the surface more and more.
So just sort of bringing it back.
So bring it back to.
I just wanted to say that. So we talk about this having a sense of, and this is about you. So this is about you feeling this has a feeling that this works for you. Okay, and if it doesn't, then you go away. You know, and this is. So we almost put you off the program. So the 3 stages are designed for you to want to do it. So it's the kind of like the opposite of a sales, if you like, isn't it?
So we unsell you.
Yeah, we unsell you. So on the second stage, the live, you know, I'll go to some extent to put you off, because if you want change and really want to be yourself, then you've got to be ready and you've got to have the desire. Otherwise it won't work. It's like anything. If you don't have the desire and you're not ready, you won't do it.
And the commitment to do it.
And the commitment to do it.
I can agree with that. Because
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's the same thing when people come to me for therapy.
Yeah.
It's the same principle.
You know, all therapies are very effective, but you've got to be ready and want it to work.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're just having an unconscious battle with yourself, and you're just, you know, it's a bit.
It's that feedback loop from hell, actually,
isn't
it? It's that feedback loop where you think you want to do it. And this is like our distinction, which we spoke about in where we have the thinking and the feeling and the disconnect, which happens from such a young age, and you spend all your life with this disconnect of what you think and what you feel, and then once you've actually made that commitment, because it doesn't work.
Two, by the way.
It doesn't work, does it? After you spend 20, 30, 40 years of having this internal battle constantly, and it does. And people, and in the end, I was just like, I need it. I can't do this anymore. And I think you get broken down to a point where you just got to go.
Well, that's where suicides become irrelevant.
Well,
that's really where I was.
That's where I was.
That's really where I was, and thank God that that friend of mine mentioned Greg. I've known Greg for a long time, and I ended up going to see him, and then but that's where I really was. So obviously you've done the live. And with Greg, you did the live event, and so that was with the 7 wells and stuff. How did you find that?
That's the workshop in those days.
That is actually that was quite because I had this concept of what each of those things meant.
Yeah. But
when we actually picked it apart, it was like my concept was up there, but the reality was was down here somewhere.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh my God!
Wow. Yeah.
And that was really. You got to open your eyes when you see that your belief system's making you believe that you're up here somewhere, and the reality is that you're not. You're down here somewhere, and you're in a really. And that was what.
So was it kind of like a reality check?
It was, because it made me realise I'd gone in throughout my life believing that I was okay and had all these things in place and all these things were working for me. When in effect, they weren't working for me. They were keeping me stuck.
That's really powerful. So if you're listening to this,
in a place where I wasn't going forward, I wasn't going backward, I was just there.
Yeah.
How was that? So I'm trying to get in your world now, because obviously I did it for myself many years ago, and it was a bit clunky and over a long period of time. But we condensed this into a day. Yeah. So you're saying the second part.
It did really make you reassess and look at everything you've believed in, or everything that you thought was factual and reality.
Right.
It made you look at your overall life on the 7 levels of your life.
Yep.
Or the 7 levels of the well. And you had to realize that where it was.
Yeah.
So that was a powerful exercise. I did not know that, Vernon. But,
But I think when we spoke to Jonathan yesterday, he said something similar. I
Yep.
said something similar. I think,
Yep.
and I think that so it just proves that every stage of the actual process
It's relevant.
Is relevant. Yeah.
Because at each point, you make a decision, either to go forward or to stay where you are.
Yep.
And each point gives you clarity, so that when you actually get into the
The real thing.
you are ready for the upheaval that it's going to create.
So let's go to the upheaval now. So obviously we do, after that we go on to the Genesis. So let's ask Vernon, how did you find that?
I think on my last day, I think I want to go to my last day, because on my last day, I ended up on the couch.
You slept.
I went to sleep.
This happens. Have you noticed this happens to people?
And
You wanted to go.
I didn't. I just walked out. Yeah.
But I had to come back to Southend. I was in.
You were out for the count.
I
weren't you?
went out for the count. He went out, came back, and I'm what's going on? It's like I had literally gone into another situation totally altogether.
Yeah.
The context here, and correct me if I'm wrong, Vern, is it's so challenging that the brain will do everything in its power to go, I don't want any more. Start to
It'll
brain.
even block it. It'll even block
Yeah.
you even accessing some of that stuff. Okay, so so tell us more about. So you did the reboot. You started with the Genesis. Tell us a bit about that.
Oh, the Genesis, at the time it wasn't called the Genesis, but now it's
Alignment, it was called.
It's Alignment, it
Yep.
was called. And which is really what it was for me. It was an alignment. And like I said, what that did for me, because we were actually talking about initially that 7 levels, 7 wells. And the effect they had on me in actually making me realize that my normal thinking pattern wasn't normal.
Can I just share for the people watching what the 7? We talk about the 7 wells. Think of what a well is. A well is life-giving. It's water, and I want you to think that we have inbuilt our own wells that give us life and give us purpose. And the 7 wells are spiritual, personal development, physical and mental health, social, career, and finance. And family, of course. And family, for example, are your partner or and any mum, all the immediate family. So I want you to think the more they're going well, if you like, and the more you get on with that, the fuller they are. Bearing in mind, you could have a whole family but hate them all, so your family well will be low. It's not just because you've got a family, but it's about the relationship with that family, relationship with your partner. If you're married or with a partner but you're unhappy, then that's low. Okay. Financial is about your assets and wealth and so forth, and it's about looking at that from a holistic point of view. And when you start looking at all of those, and they tend to be out of whack, so somebody might have a lot of money and really busy, but their family well and their social well's low and things like this. So it gives you you start looking at your whole life and thinking, oh God,
And that is really what that's why I said it was on my belief that a lot of them was up here.
Yep.
But when I actually started to analyse and look at it through this process, I realised that a lot of them was very low, even some of them were non-existent. And that was the point. And so therefore, at that point, I know I had to do the process in order to
start filling them and balancing.
Getting them balanced. And it made me realise that a lot of my wells had big holes in them.
Yeah, a lot of mine didn't exist. I think I only had one well, and at the time.
It's like having holes in every part of the body.
So even if you're filling them up, they're empty.
They're empty fast. So my job was to actually find a way of actually getting those holes filled up, so that they weren't leaking away. My engine wasn't leaking away.
Yeah, so obviously part of the Genesis is the life hacks philosophies, and which I found amazing. That was for me, when I did it, I participated in the first and realised where everything I was lacking and where I was focusing in the wrong areas, and why really my life was where it was. But it wasn't really till I got to the Genesis program and we started doing the life hacks that was it was in that very early few hours where Greg was going through some of the information that all of a sudden I cracked. It was like like a big sledgehammer come on, got this walnut and just went crack, and all of a sudden I was like, oh, right, I don't know everything. My ego's now just been broken. I'm now humbled. I now get it. And now all of a sudden I'm just sort of very, very... It was the thing that broke me in order for me to then really embrace. Did you have a similar experience with that?
There was a couple of incidents for me that as I suddenly opened up, it was like everything inside of me and it's like sitting there with these watery feeling flowing down your face.
Yeah.
Because all of a sudden, the well inside of you of the sadness and the thing and the happiness at the same time of actually realizing that you are. And it was that. And 2 times that happened in this situation for me. And it was like a refreshing feeling, but yet at the same time, it was a sense of loss because you've all of a sudden what you thought, what you believed, what you felt in life
shattered.
It was just shattering.
Yes.
And it's like, oh my God.
I know, I had a similar thing. I had a similar experience.
And I thought after the first one, that was enough. That was it. I didn't look.
Yeah.
But the second one, it was like, talk about a eureka moment. It was like a eureka plus a eureka plus a eureka on top to actually realize that second one, and the second one was really to do with my parents and where I was. That literally, I think that was the drainer for me because it was after, and
it was after that.
It was after that I went into. It's like I had to go to sleep for my mind to reassess and put things back into
rebalance
itself.
Readjust.
And that's why when I actually gave my initial interview, I said it was like having my brains ripped out, washed, scrubbed, and all the stuff that went with it, stuck back in, and then somebody put an electric boot up me, and it went, that was the feeling I had from it.
Wow.
But it is such a fundamental transition. I don't do what Greg do, but I actually hope that what I do give people a similar sort of effect in their life. So I understand that, and to be able to actually see my family, and my family well is now in my book quite full because my children love me and I love them unconditionally, regardless of what.
And just by talking to you, I know that means a lot to you.
And it does. And at the end of the day, yes, the financial well is still a bit of struggle, but I'm not even going to worry about that because you know what? I know at some point that's going to fill up, and I am not panicking about that anymore. And all the other wells are starting to fill up because I'm feeling now contented with myself. Wherever I am right now is where I'm meant to be.
Wow.
And when you realize whether things are going bad or good, you are where you're meant to be for what the experience is going to give you. And
that's a tough one to accept sometimes, isn't it? It's a tough one to accept.
I've got to high five you on behalf of him right now because I know where his head's at right now.
Because it is hard to accept.
It's almost like when it's feeling bad or feeling rubbish or that you're having a struggle, I always think of it as an opportunity. What is it I'm learning? This thing that I'm learning.
And that is what...
It's the opportunity to learn. Because if it comes again, you obviously missed the opportunity to learn last time.
Yeah, and this is basically, this is what I'm actually... and realised that's why when what happened, and I've got to see what happened to me between September and December.
Yeah,
there was a valuable lesson there for me, and I didn't. Yes, it hurts because I allowed myself to get into it.
Yeah,
but coming out of it, it won't happen again because I'm going to make sure it never happens again.
Now that's powerful.
It's echoing everything that I've just basically gone through in the last 3 months since doing it. So, I mean, it's a great...
And that's the point. I know now I will never allow myself to go down that road again.
So how empowering is that?
Very.
Yeah.
Because it means that now I can actually create what I need right now for me and for the people who I love and who are important in my life and who are relevant to my forward motion, whether that's family, good friends, or new people.
So for people watching this now, what I believe you're seeing is somebody that's got self-love, self-worth, because what they're doing now is they're seeing that we all have patterns in life. We have patterns of good behaviour that drive us forward, but we have patterns of bad, or I say bad behaviour, but let's call it what works and what doesn't.
Yeah.
Right, we have patterns of what doesn't work, and what's happened here is that since the reboot, he's now noticed a pattern. He goes, right, do you know what? That doesn't work for me. It's happened to me recently around self-love and self-worth of a part that somebody I love and care for. I kept going back, and I haven't right now, although I'd like to. I know that it won't work, and it won't work for me, and it won't work for her. This is self-worth and self-love, and then I'm going to use a word that I matter. I now matter, but particularly that I matter, other people that I love and care for, they matter. And when you all matter, you start changing your behaviour that works for you. So I know that sounds a bit cryptic, but
no,
you understand does that make sense?
It makes sense because I am important to me.
Yeah.
I'm not vain. I love myself for being a human being and a person.
Yeah.
I love everyone around me for being human beings and individuals in their own right. But at the same time, no one is more important than me.
Yeah, I get it, and I think there's another thing as well. Another distinction that came with me is that a lot of people, when you think about self-love, and they probably might have a misinterpretation of it, but it's about self-abuse. So if you're going down the pub and thinking that drinking 6 pints a day and then eating really bad food, and then so you're self-abusing. You're abusing.
That's right.
So if you're prepared to abuse yourself with drink or drugs or bad food or just bad habits, bad behaviours, bad thinking, negativity and stuff, then realistically that's going to have an effect on everybody outside of you.
Correct.
So realistically you don't realise it, but you're probably abusing them as well. You're actually abusing the people around you by abusing yourself, but you're oblivious to it. You're completely oblivious. You're oblivious to the abuse that you inflict on other people just by you not having self-worth or self-love.
So there's a powerful distinction there, and I'm going to put that into two types. So people think selfish is a bad thing. It depends what type of selfish is. There's two types. There's good selfish and there's bad selfish. And we'll put it to bed right now. Bad selfish is when you think about yourself, but other people are harmed, or it causes harm, loss, or things that impact them negatively. But there's good selfish when you think about yourself, but everyone's impacted to the benefit, or they benefit as a result of you being. So a good selfish might be, I'm going to spend time on my own, exercise, have a good, just make
I might go an anger management course. I might start doing some anger management, so therefore I'm less angry, and therefore it doesn't have an effect.
Absolutely.
On other people.
But
for example,
but it might be that you like, for example, I think I'm the most selfish person I've ever met, right? But what that means is, I believe it's good selfish because everybody else is benefits from my good selfishness. It's when people are not benefiting from your selfishness, it's bad.
Yeah.
So don't get this false pretense that you're being selfish because Vernon here loves himself more than anyone. Everyone then benefits from him loving himself because he's healthy. He's
coming in there. If I love myself, then it gives me permission to love everyone else.
Absolutely.
It also gives people permission to love me.
Yes, correct.
Because it's coming from a place of purity.
Yeah.
And that's what, to me, self-love is all about.
Yeah.
I look after myself, I feed myself well, and you know what? For the age I am, I have people half my age who don't look as good as me.
Can we ask you how old you are, Vernon?
The last birthday was 67.
67
years old.
This man is 67, and it's just incredible.
Yeah.
And I stopped aging at 40 in my mind.
Yeah.
Does sad things happen to me? Yes. Do I spend time where I'm feeling miserable? Yes. But you know what? I don't take that outside.
Yeah.
Unless I have people who will or will talk to with my issues.
Yeah.
And they don't go down and wallow in it with me. You usually tell me that get up, put up the butt, and it lifts me because they're not. I don't want somebody sympathising with me. I want somebody who's empathetic and who's going to give me a lifting hand. And that's what the people...
Not rescuing, but empowerment.
Empowering me.
Yeah.
And this is what I do when I do my work. I empower people to change and take control of their life because I don't know what their life's journey is.
No.
I know what mine is.
So yeah, going back to that. So at the end we have the vision and the mission, don't we?
Mm-hmm.
So
Yes.
I know that's been very powerful for me, because every time now I start falling into the old negative, victim, moany, whingy, complaining mindset that I used to be all the time. Now, as soon as I start getting a sense that I'm feeling that way, took me a little while to fall into it, but I just run that.
Yeah.
I run the thing that I learned from my blueprint, and instantly I get right. Okay, I'm being silly, and I'm back on track. So, what was that for you, and how's that impacted you and affected you?
Actually, that was quite interesting, because I've been doing my vision and mission throughout my life and didn't realise I was.
Oh,
doing
really?
it.
So just to help the viewers here, so one of the outcomes that you get is that inbuilt in you is a
blueprint,
which
an
is unique
absolute
to you,
blueprint.
and it's the way you look at the world, what your vision for the world and the vision for yourself, and a way that you do that, and we're able to articulate that with precision now. And so we'll just leave you with that. And so as an outcome, you all of a sudden get this connection that you never had on why you're here and how you do that.
Well,
Over to
the
you, Vern.
vision and mission came about because I've always looked for people who are in pain,
Yeah.
and through discussion and through discussion and understanding where they're at, I've helped them to guided them towards finding a solution.
Yeah.
And I'd done that from I was a kid, from I can remember. And I was taken back to when I was in my teens, doing that sort of thing, and I was like, oh my God. Then I came forward to another time in my life, and I realised that I was doing the same pattern, even slightly different. Even if
Precisely.
but it was the pattern that was there in the whole process. And then as we came towards where I am, or to the point where I did the session, and I realised that my hypnotherapy and all that was in the same vein, where I found people's pain, discussed what the pain, where they were at, and then showed them or guided them to solutions that could alleviate their pain. But I can't take the pain away, but I gave them a way out.
Yeah.
And that was through discussion. So my vision and mission is that I was in a position where I was looking for people to help and develop and grow themselves.
Yeah.
I've always believed in myself to be, I'm an instigator, a trigger.
Yeah.
I actually instigate change
Yeah.
and transition in people.
Yeah.
When people come to me for numerology, I know that person is ready for a change in their life.
Yeah.
And I will always say that if I do numerology, if I'm called to do numerology for somebody, I know they're in a transitional point, because that's what I do. I look and I find, I don't ask me how I know, I just know it.
Yeah.
It just
So instinctively,
it's just an innate aspect within me. And that's what I found, is that my innate ability to see where people are in pain and to show them a way out.
Yeah, it's lovely. It's a lovely way of being as well, and must be, really rewarding for you as well. You must get a lot from it.
It is.
Great. Well, okay. So you've got I'd say, is it a hypnotherapy clinic? Do you work? Have you got a place do you work from? And tell the viewers what you do and how they can get in touch with you, and how you can help them if they need your help.
I actually help people, and I'm going to put it very simple, help you to change your negative habits into positive ones that's going to be beneficial for your growth and development, utilizing various tools like hypnotherapy, psychotherapy, NLP.
Yeah.
If people just want to have a chat, and I can actually, even through psychotherapy, guide them as well.
Yeah.
I do that in Southend at the Queen's Road Clinic, and I'm also now working from a place called the Yoga Factory in Short Street.
Okay, so so that's the whereabouts in Southend again? Is that the
Short Yoga Factory in Short Street, which is
Yoga Factory in Short Street? Yeah.
which is down near the post office, but the Queen's Road Clinic is in actually Queen's Road itself, which is not far from the Sainsbury's shop down the London Road. It's just at the back of that.
Yeah.
But I can be contacted either by ringing 07866 730 941.
Okay.
Or I can just type in Vernon A. Don't forget the A. Harris.
Don't forget the A. Yeah, Vernon A. Harris.
.com.
Yep.
And you can go onto my website and actually
Fantastic.
contact me through my website.
That's great. What a lovely gentleman. I've got to say, it's been an absolute pleasure, Vernon.
Thank you.
We're very similar, I think, in a lot of our ways of thinking and stuff. And is there anything you wanted to add, Greg, really?
Just,
before we close off?
thank you, Vernon. That's been great. And lovely excuse to interview you, to see you again. 'Cause I haven't seen you for a few months. Just the three things really. One, if anything that you've heard or listened to has resonated with you in some way, or feels familiar, or has a sense of, oh, that's intrigued me, I'd like to know a little bit more about the Reboot technology Reboot program. There's the first 3 steps are, or any of these 3 steps, you can do a quiz, which I believe is at www.reboot.uno, but there's a link you'll see near around this video for the quiz, and it's an eye-opening quiz, and it'll just help you. There'll be some interesting questions you won't have been asked. It takes about 3 minutes. The second thing you can do is we've got a webinar which is called Insights. That's coming up very soon. Again, there's a link to the webinar, and you can register for that. It's 2 hours. You will need a microphone and a camera, and there will be a level of participation. But
that'd be like the seminar that you used to do back in the day. Yeah.
That's it, like the seminar, but we're doing it so people in the comfort of their own homes or wherever they are. Very eye-opening indeed. It's whole and complete on its own. We used to charge for it. We don't anymore. It's free, so you can come along to that. And then the final thing is that we do a thing called Pre-Sites, which is 6 p.m. Every other Tuesday at Two Brewers pub in Chelmsford, and they do nice booze. But
they can just really, they can just come along really and have a coffee and an informal chat with us. Really, they can ask us a bit more about what we do, how it affects them, what the course is. Maybe even just come and talk to us about a specific issue or something that's going on in your life that you're stuck with, and the course might not even be right for you. It might be that we refer you to someone like Vernon or Jonathan or someone that's within our circle. So, or
maybe you'll get an answer on the night that will just help you get to the next stage of where you are.
We might be able to help you.
Absolutely. And that's a free event. It is ticketed, but you just get, and there's a link there. So apart from that, I'd like to thank you, Steve, for hosting.
No, thank you.
Thank you, Vernon.
Thanks for coming along. And no, you're welcome. It's been a pleasure. So please tune in to our next interview. We've got a few more coming up. So once again, thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Cheers.
Good afternoon.
Bye-bye.
Bye.